good morning or afternoon by the time this is out. Today is the 11th day of May, 2021. And I'm going to speak today about the agency that was definitely President Trump's favorite agency, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. You wouldn't know that there was any other federal law enforcement agency in existence. Well, you would know. He didn't like the FBI much. He never mentioned DEA at all, as far as I could tell. But he really liked ICE.
For Americans to honor the nation's Border Patrol agents. The White House says it's eager to defend the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Department amid calls by some lawmakers to abolish ICE. KCA Unite's Mark Meredith is in Washington with a closer look.
President Trump says America's immigration and customs enforcement officers are not getting the support they deserve.
We'll always be with you. We'll never let you down.
The president invited ICE agents to the White House for a presidential pat on the back. But the president is also seizing the political spotlight. He's blasting a small number of Democrats who've called for ICE to be abolished.
They want to abolish America's borders. We're protecting borders of other countries, but we don't protect our own borders. How about that?
This summer, 3 House Democrats co-sponsored a bill to abolish ICE. They argue the department can no longer carry out immigration enforcement in a humane way. Wisconsin Democrat Mark Pocan introduced the bill, writing in July, quote, "From conducting raids at garden centers and meatpacking plants, the president is using ICE as a mass deportation force to rip apart the moral fabric of our nation." But Georgia Republican Senator David Perdue says ICE agents are heroes and deserve better from lawmakers.
Well, it's outrageous that anybody who's an elected official in the United States right now is saying that they would like to abolish ICE.
While the bill has been introduced, Congress is not expected to vote on it anytime soon. In Washington, I'm Mark Meredith.
So the purpose of this video, acquaint you with what ICE does, a little bit about their background and the qualifications and whether you would want to join or not. And to start with, where did ICE come from? Well, again, this is born after 9/11. Prior to 9/11, the Immigration and Naturalization Service at the United States Department of Justice had Border Patrol agents and special agents. Special agents were criminal investigators. Border Patrol was the Border Patrol. Now, Customs was part of the Treasury Department, and they had customs inspectors and customs special agents. And then after 9/11, Immigration and Customs is put together, and you have ICE. And for a while, again, there's this ambiguity. What in the heck do they do? So what is it that ICE does? This is their government video, about 2 minutes long, a little bit longer than that, about how the agency, portrays itself to the public. I'm surprised it's still up. Again, it's May 11th, 2021, and the words illegal alien are in there. So, don't tell Joe Biden or they're going to have to take this video down. Well, that ambiguity finally came to an end when Donald Trump was elected president. One of his big campaign promises was to build a wall across the southern border with Mexico, and secondly, to deport illegal aliens. I guess we can't even use that term anymore. People who aren't here legally. How's that? Citizens, non-citizens who lack documentation. I'm just going to call them illegal aliens because it's a mouthful. I don't have time for the politically correct wording. Okay, they're nice people. Most of them are nice people, but they're not here legally. Okay, and in that he focused primarily on raids, primarily against gang members, convicted felons. They really weren't going after Maria the maid too much or Jose the gardener, unless they were involved in something that they shouldn't have been involved in, like if it was a DUI. And then this causes a conflict. Everything in this country becomes partisan, polarized partisan. And cities began declaring themselves as sanctuary cities, that they weren't going to collaborate with ICE, that ICE was like the new SS.
Been arrested at that protest outside the home of the Aurora ICE detention facility's warden. And as Fox 31's Nicole Fierro reports, Aurora police had some pretty strong words for protesters.
Yeah, there's been protests here before, and we're expecting another one tomorrow as well. But what happened last night, prompting much of the upset, is that the anti-ICE group brought their mission into a local neighborhood. Take a look and listen. Our crews here capturing dozens of anti-ICE protesters outside of the home of the detention facility's warden. Police met the protesters in full riot gear, and the protesters are part of the group Abolish ICE Denver, reacting to everything happening along the southern border. Now, take a look at these tweets, the backlash coming after the protests. Aurora's police chief calling the protests vile and disgusting, going on to say these protesters' message was lost in the residential community, and they were out of their league. In another tweet, the department says the protest was truly sickening. Police are preparing for more protesters to come here tomorrow. No word on what time yet, but they do expect both pro and anti-ICE rallying. Now, we'll bring the latest to you as everything unfolds. In Aurora, Nicole Fierro.
So there you have it. I mean, at one time, Republicans, Democrats pretty much agreed on certain things, but, we have a lot of very easily riled up people. We have a lot of revolutionaries who couldn't run around the block or fight their way out of a wet paper bag. White middle class people who want to run around and call people names. Okay, but again, the agency is not all that popular. And because President Trump supported them, the friend of my enemy becomes my enemy, which is not necessarily a good policy to follow. Particularly, if it's involved in something that is essential, such as enforcement of immigration laws. Now, under the previous administration, ICE, again, was well liked by the administration, was well supported. It is not now. Under President Biden, they are limited to going after spies, of which I don't think there's too many. Terrorists, again, that's the FBI's job. Both of those really belong to the FBI. And those undocumented aliens who've committed aggravated felonies. And I don't know what that means, but the number of deportations is down at an all-time low. Who's going to lose in this? Are the people who are out there demonstrating, they're going to lose their jobs? No, they're not going to lose their jobs. They all went to college, and they're not going to lose their jobs. The people who are going to get hurt, working class Americans, Hispanic, African American, people who work for a living, because, the labor market is just that. It's a market. And if you bring in too many people at once, if there's no system, and that's the biggest gripe that I have, there is no system. Well, if you have no system, then you have no system. So that's where that stands. Okay, so do I recommend that you join ICE? Should you join ICE? Yeah, it's a federal job. Right now they're not hiring, but the qualifications, I've got a little thing that I've put together from the ICE website, are as follows. With regards to the positions at ICE, there are really four major ones that are of relevance. One is the criminal investigator, GS 1811, really a special agent. And again, the requirements are pretty much the same as to join any federal agency. 21, under 37. You almost certainly need a college degree, and if you qualify with a 2.95 or higher GPA, you would qualify as a GS7, or you would need, a number of years working this type of work as a state and local officer, which I don't know how you get experience conducting immigration enforcement unless you're in immigration enforcement. So pretty much you're going to have to go to college. That's the bottom line for criminal investigator. Detention and deportation officer, I would think the very high emphasis is on the former. You're going to be a jail guard working in these detention facilities. My recommendation, go to the Bureau of Prisons if you want to be a detention officer. I would not want to work for ICE's detention and deportation. Deportation officer, what they primarily do is escort those who have a deportation order from wherever they're at. Usually it's jail, but it could be anywhere, and take them to the border or to the country where they are wanted and deport them and tell them not to come back again. And technical enforcement officer, that's a good position actually. My last year and couple years in DEA, I supervised the tech group, and what we did there, it was mainly retired Army, Air Force, Navy technicians. I had Navy radio men and people who had high-tech backgrounds in the Air Force and the Army. And they had worked mostly at WACA, which is the White House Communications Agency. But the job that they would do at DEA would be to install poll cameras, video over IP, tracking devices on vehicles, kill switches on vehicles, everything, the wiretaps, everything that we did, they were involved in. We had our little bucket truck, and they'd go around and pretend to be utility men and install cameras. And why don't you have agents doing it? Mainly because we're not, we're all thumbs when it comes to that. But they got full GS-13 pay plus availability pay plus a take-home car plus their retirement pay. So I highly recommend the technical enforcement if you want. Again, I don't think any of these are accepting applications right now, but I will keep my eye open on usajobs.gov. What is it like working in ICE? Well, the best way to find out is to ask the employees. So let's take a look at the best places to work survey results with regards to ICE. Okay, and this is the again, the best places to work in the federal government. The source of this information is the annual employee viewpoint survey put out by the Office of Personnel Management. And what it measures is the employee perception of their agency. And they ask about many things, but one of the main categories that determines an agency's ranking is what they refer to as the engagement score. And that is, are they satisfied with their work? Do they think, or would they recommend their agency as a place, a good place to work overall? That really those are the main issues that determine the engagement score. And with regards to ICE, and this of course includes special agents, detention officers, and deportation officers. There's 3 categories of employees there. It ranks fairly low. It's 348 out of 420 agency components. It's gone down from 2018. This is the 2019 report. So this is under President Trump. And if you look at it over time, started around the first recording date of 2005, which is when they were founded. It's kind of had its peaks and valleys, with the biggest valley being under President Obama in 2015. It's somewhat of an increase under President Trump, but not much of one. Now, what does this mean now that we're under I think it's gone way down again. So if you thought it was going up, and 54.8 or 58.5 is not high, it's always been below the median. I can guarantee you it's way down right now. And let's take a look by trying to make sense of it by looking at categories. And again, you know, their rating of effective leadership, they don't have a lot of confidence in leadership. It ranks 358 out of 413. Empowerment, very low, 364 out of 413. Perception of fairness, again, very low, 343 out of 413. Senior leadership, 342 out of 413. These are low rankings. Supervisors, 367 out of 413. Now, employee skills match, it still ranks fairly low. One thing they do like is their pay. You know, it's that one has a fairly good indicator, but just about everything else, work-life balance, training and development, awards. You know, am I going to be awarded and promoted fairly? You know, it just doesn't have the employees don't have a lot good to say about it. So that's about where we're at with that. And there's reasons for that, obviously. And again, when you have an agency that has, you know, something of a confused mission or an unclear mission or an unpopular mission, you know, I think this, you know, weighs heavily into these scores. So now that we've seen what the employees think, one thing that we can conclude from this is that this whole Homeland Security enterprise, whether it's Secret Service, I'm going to do one on CBP's morale next, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and you'll see CBP's is the lowest morale in any government agency, including the Bureau of Prisons, which you're locked in with inmates all day. So, I mean, morale's got to be pretty bad there, right? It's even worse with CBP. Morale is not good. The employees do not think much of the agency. So do I recommend it? Of course I recommend it. As a federal law enforcement job, yeah, I recommend it. But be aware of this, that their mission right now is it's being constrained. They've been not reined in. They've actually been very limited in what they can do. So until the agency gets a clear mission, until the United States decides through its elected representatives what our enforcement with regards to immigration law is going to be, what our immigration law is going to be, please bear in mind that the mission of ICE and these other agencies is going to be somewhat muddy, you know. So I wish I could give it a better, you know, prognosis than I did, but again, it was created in haste out of you know, perceived immediate danger, perhaps as an overreaction to something that happened. You know, we again invaded 2 countries and revamped all of law enforcement and created a security state over, you know, something that was terrible. But again, if you look at what it wasn't a high-tech invasion. It was a couple of Arabs with box cutters who got on a plane and took the plane and crashed it into the World Trade Center. A terrible thing, you know, in the Pentagon. Terrible thing, but, you know, did it warrant this huge reaction? And now we almost underreact now to the pendulum swings the other way. And you're going to just get right back into the situation you were in pre-9/11, which is, you know, the border's wide open. Anybody can come in. And most of them coming in, 99 are great folks, but 1%, you know, they're not. So that's it for ICE. I hope it's been informative. You know, I haven't shown a lot of cool videos like recruiting videos because, again, there's reasons that you may not want to join the agency, or there's reasons that you might, and hopefully this has given you some perspective. But as of right now, they are not hiring. But I hope it was somewhat informative. And the next one I'm going to do is on morale and the Customs and Border Protection.